back. It is Friday, December 11th, and I'm excited to kick things off here today. Let's do this. Let me get a couple shares. Either you can share best training thing or, or the weirdest Christmas gift that you heard during this time period. Adrian?
Yeah, so I was paired up with Jonathan, and he got a pink. His grandma gave him a pink rainbow sweater for Christmas,
Wait, how long ago was that?
like
Yo.
last year.
Why do you keep doing this in every prep?
How do you guys keep getting together every prep?
I didn't get with him at all.
Oh, wait, this is not even real?
No.
All right, thanks, Adrian. All right, anyone else want to share? Come on, there had to be one good one.
Just got kitten's milk.
Wait, what?
Just got kitten's milk.
For
It was just a gag gift. It was a gag gift, but I did get kitten milk.
nice. You guys ever seen that? You guys know the avocado video? You know what I'm talking about? That's my favorite video ever. So that's always a good gift, an avocado. Any good training tips that anyone heard? Was like, oh, I didn't think about that. Well, that's a good one. Yeah, Adrian, this is.
No, this one's real, man.
All right, cool.
I guess it's the tip that I gave to Justice and Yandri, which was, last year when we had like a huge winter break program, I think what really worked was social media D-Day, how we executed that, and Blackboard emails.
Yeah. And it's funny that you're talking to Jelsis because I think she executed that the highest
Yeah,
level
really well.
in the division. So helps, works real well. Audrey?
Yeah, I was paired with Tyler and excuse me. We talked about just like having a lot of fun over break, making it really messy, and also focus on replicating your best people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That one helped you out this summer. Nick?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. I was paired with Rob, and I liked what he said. He was saying if there's any habits like you want to keep over summer, like you want to start working on them now. Like his example was like going to the gym. So like if you want to be able to go to the gym in the summer, you want to like practice waking up early now and like getting in early, because once when it gets to summer, you're gonna be way too busy to like try to add things in like, as summer starts. So I like that.
100%. And I think there's certain things like, okay, cool. So you're like, maybe your routine in the morning and what time you wake up, it's always good to start building habits ahead of time. But the reality is that you might build really good habits over the break. You're going to go back to school in the spring. It's going to all start over and you probably stay up later and wake up late again. But what is important to be aware of, like I would always start doing this is like, I just start getting cognizant about my sleeping habits right around like March. I would know, I'm like, all right, I need to start like weaning myself in. So that clock is at 10. I'm like, I'm going to start waking up at 8 and 9 now. And then I was like, all right, cool. And now I'm like consistently up at 8. Now I'm bringing that back to 7. And then summer gets started. It's more like 6 o'clock to really get things going there. But that's a good point. And then also, yeah, the gym's another big one. I'll tell you, anyone that prioritizes fitness or wants to be healthy and fit this summer, which will give you more energy and probably help you perform at a higher level, you will not start working out during the summertime. I would just make that one really, really clear. I've never heard a single manager in my career that's like, or an AM that wasn't working out in the fall and spring, and they started working out consistently during the summertime. It just doesn't happen.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't happen. Now, by the way, okay, and I'll tell you guys this, like my first branch, I didn't really prioritize my fitness. And by the way, this is back in the day when it was a different, like branching is still really challenging and really tough, but like you guys don't understand how, like, this is back when we had, imagine this, okay? Everything's physically in an office, and training is 3 days, okay? So there is no Saturdays that are off, because Thursday, Friday, Saturday is training. And then we have a massive SMRA program, not SMRA, it was just a receptionist program at the time. And so you finish training at like 5 o'clock on Saturday. And then PDI starts, obviously. And then you have Sunday at noon was receptionist kickoff. So that was like the break time there. It was like Saturday at 5 o'clock to Sunday at noon was like the only time I ever had. I mean, I was like working 100 hours a week. Did not work out that summer. After that, fitness has always been something that's been important to me. So I just made sure that that was a strong habit before I got into the summer. And every other summer after that, made sure that fitness was a core component of my life and success during that summertime too. So if you want to have that habit going into the summer, because some of y'all maybe have been working on that this fall, you've got to be on top of it in the spring, and those habits can continue on into the summer. But if you don't want to go a whole year without working out, then I would suggest getting involved in the spring so you can continue for the summer. Because if you don't do the spring, it won't happen until the next fall. I can almost guarantee it. So good tips there. Love as we're kicking off here for today. I want to kick things off this morning with a little what's hot and what you appreciate. We're not going to go all the way around the horn, but I just want 3 people to share. Anything, this is a good time. This is like the time of the year for gratitude. I mean, it always is the time of the year, but this is a time where there's a lot more, I think. And it's good to start in that place. I have a couple thoughts about that too, but I'd like to just open it up for 2 or 3 people that want to chime in and just, what are you grateful for? What do you appreciate here today? Yeah, let's go to Lindsay.
Cool. So I appreciate being almost done with exams. We're almost there. The light, I can see it at the end of the tunnel. So exciting there. And I appreciate Audrey and Jess. I love you guys. I'll see you soon in Tampa.
Hey. Yeah, I appreciate being done with exams. And as much as like a lot of you all in this moment are like, F school, like this shit sucks. Like, why am I doing this? Also just having gratitude for the fact that you're in school, like there's a lot of people, number one, in our country that can't afford to go to school or just can't go to school. There's also a lot of people outside of our country that don't even, like, college is not even a thing, in their countries. That's not even like an opportunity that's available to them, so it's like our like, this shit sucks is someone else's like dream, so I'm just being grateful for that. Thanks for chiming in, Lindsay. Let's go to Jonathan. We'll do one more.
So what's hot? Winter break push. We got a couple of gunners and stuff like that in our office kind of popping off. And what do I appreciate is this Saturday, we're gonna have our Christmas party here in Metro Miami. That's gonna be fun to reconnect and see you guys after like an entire year. So
first live event in Miami since March.
I'm seeing like all of the reps from Doral, like any of them.
Tyler called me the other day. He's like, "Yeah, it would be nice to meet you." And I was like, "Holy crap, we've never met." And I was like, "I guess we've never physically met." Yeah, that's right. We've been talking for like 9 months now. So yeah, that would be cool. I'm looking forward to that as well. Let's get one last one, and then we'll dive in. One last one here for today. Yeah, Jess.
So what's hot is myself and my little AMs for the winter break branch are pairing up really well and setting up all their personal PRs for Puerto Rico. And what I appreciate is all the Tampa staff just being there for each other, being communication, and bouncing ideas and notes back off each other during this time.
Yep, I love that. Sourcing from the collective is always more powerful. So, well, ladies and gents, we will go ahead and just dive in for the day, and we will kick things off here today. What I want to go ahead and do is I'll open up with some quick opening comments, but please take a second to go ahead and, if you haven't done it already, download the agenda that was sent to your WhatsApp groups. And then I'm also going to share the NLG folder so that you guys have this and have access to the documents for the day folder. So go ahead and open up, and you guys can have this handouts as well. That was just sent into your group chats there. So we'll go ahead and kick things off. I'm going to kick things off with a little short opening comments here for today. And I want to echo too, just the gratitude component as we start off for today. I know everyone's heard this before. We literally start every meeting with what's hot, what you appreciate. But there's a reason that we start with like appreciation and gratitude first. And really gratitude is the highest, one of the highest energetic states that you can really be at. There are frequencies attached to every single emotion that we feel, and there are lower level emotions and frequencies, and there are higher level emotions and frequencies. Things like sorrow or frustration or anger or rage, or I mean, there's a lot of them. Those are usually typically lower end frequencies. And then there's higher ones like joy, bliss, gratitude. And I think one of the things too is that like gratitude is really the best state that you can be in, because what you're really doing is when you're grateful, you're really saying thank you. And you're really saying thank you to someone, to a person, to God, the universe, whatever. But you're literally in a state of thanks. And when you're in a state of thanks, you really are in basically a state of receiving, right? And you're able to receive. You're saying, you're like thanking, and you're basically what you're doing in that moment is you're opening yourself up to be able to receive more. It literally opens your mind. It allows that great feeling of being alive and a sense of purpose. And when we're in that state, there's a lot more that we're able to take in and receive. And a lot of times things, well, I'll get into that a little bit later too, but I just think it's a good way to start off. And this time of the year, there's been so much craziness that has happened for so many people, and really just kind of connecting to a state of just gratitude of just how many there's so many people. And I can tell you, no matter what your situation is right now, if you're on this call right now, you're sitting on a computer with Wi-Fi, living in America, have great opportunities in the future in front of you all. We should have some gratitude for where we're at right now, because there's a lot of people, again, that aren't in necessarily that situation. And I'm grateful for the winter break. I'm grateful for this time period. This is really, really fun. This is the dress rehearsal. This is the time where you get to get in and actually get your hands on things, get some experience, have some fun, make a lot of mistakes, get messy, as some people said earlier here today. And that's really what the winter break is truly used for. One of the books that we had this group read was Good to Great, and we're going to do a debrief of that here in just a little bit. But I want to share with you guys a little bit of the reason why I chose that book for this group and for this division, is really because I see I see our team as a good team right now. We're going to finish off close to $5 million in sales our first year as a division. We're going to finish off with multiple top performers. We had one of the highest branch averages, not the highest, but a pretty good one. We're going to take home a couple different silver cups as a division. We'll be setting ourselves up for the future of the years, and we're in a good spot right now. But the hardest transition for people to make is going from good to great. It's not It's not easy because you're already good to go to great. It's actually like that's the hardest transition there is to go from that team that is pretty good to the team that is known as one of the greats. I think about, does anyone know who Tim Grover is? Tim Grover, he wrote this book called Relentless, highly recommend. And he's the guy that coached Michael Jordan. He coached LeBron James. He coached Dwayne Wade, some of the best performers in sports history. And he was all their coach. And he talks about how there's three different types of people. There's coolers, cleaners, there's closers, coolers, and cleaners. Okay. A cooler is a individual that, when you give them a job or a duty or a task or an assignment, they're going to give you an okay job. They're going to, they're not going to knock your socks off. They're not going to wow you. They're going to get the job done as long as everything is clearly laid out for them, everything's set up, and they'll follow through and they'll get it done. But it's not going to be, the most impressive thing that you've ever seen. That's a cooler. A closer is an individual who is able to achieve those desired results. They're able to achieve and perform at a very high level consistently, as long as the plan is well laid out for them, as long as there's not too many bumps in the road, as long as there's not too much adversity or something comes in the way and messes it up, they're going to be able to deliver those end results. And a cleaner is a special type of person in business and life that is able to get those desired results, to achieve those superior outcomes no matter what obstacle is thrown in their way, no matter what adversity, no matter what pebbles come in the rock, no matter what happens, they are able to achieve and perform those desired results. That's a cleaner. They're able to do it not one time, but time and time and time again. It's the difference between winning one silver cup and winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, being a Drew Frank of the world. It's the difference between winning one championship game and being winning multiple championships. It's the difference between being a good team and a great team. You know, the team that is able to achieve time in and time again, COVID-19, you know, pandemic, whatever is happening in the world, they're able to still get those desired results. And I remember that is actually something, you know, like there's a really good book, by the way. If you're inspired by that concept, I would definitely look up into it. There's more videos. I remember there was a song that I listened to every single day, almost the summer that I broke the record. And I remember I thought about that quite a bit because I had already won the Silver Cup the previous year. I'd already been the #1 branch. And I was really thinking about taking it higher. And it was such a big deal and so important to me to go out there and do it again, to go out there and break the record. More so just because it's like, look, I already knew I was the #1 manager, you know, the previous year. But for me, it's like, no, I don't want to be #1 one time. You know, I don't want this to be a one and done thing. I had my peak and it fell down. Like I want to prove to myself that I am a cleaner, that I can achieve and perform at a high level over and over and over again, no matter what situation is thrown in my way. And that was my mentality going into that summertime. You know, Tim talks about a lot, like, hey, cleaners, like closers do things to like prove other people wrong. A cleaner just does something to prove him or herself right. And it's just a little concept for you guys as we go into today. You know, can you be a cleaner? And also as we think about our office, our division, like this is exciting for me too. You guys can see the NLG cut halls have both gotten bigger and smaller, but this is really, we're missing a couple people here this morning, but this is really like the future of the division, this call. You know, look around. This is the future of the division. Outside of, you know, the couple district managers that are currently operating, like this is the future of the division for next summer and also years and years to come. You know, it's going to come from this group respectively. You know, and we have an opportunity in front of us to go and make that transition from good to really a great team. And it's not about, you know, like I'll talk about a little bit next year, something we've been talking about on the DVM table is what would it look like to have a Silver Cup sweep, you know. We talk about next year as the year of competing and really it's not even really a year of competing, it's a year of dominating if we do what we have the potential to do. And we literally could go down the board, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, but actually I'll just walk you all through it just so you guys can hear it a little bit. But this is what it would look like. I think if we really perform at the level of potential that we had next year, we would win. You know, Tampa office is going to take home 3 Silver Cups this year. So district new business, district total, and district team. That's really phenomenal. That's really impressive. It's been done by few offices in the future. And I think Tampa has an opportunity too. There's multiple offices that have done that before. There's only a select few people in company history that have done that multiple years in a row. You know, if they go out there and do that again, that will be 3 Silver Cups. We'll have both Alex Arias and Eddie De Las Cuevas, who are 2 of the top performing managers this fall, both competing for the first full year Silver Cup. We're going to have multiple new district managers that will be going out in this call. And I think there's multiple people on this call that have a good shot at winning a new district Silver Cup for first new year managers. We have multiple kick-ass branches going out next year. And we have some people that are looking to take down the national record. I feel pretty confident that we're going to take home a branch Silver Cup next year. I feel really good about the pilot direction and our PSM, Jonathan Castell, and what we're going to do in the pilot. And we're looking to take home a pilot Silver Cup, a pilot development Silver Cup. By the way, if we do all of those, we will win the division new business Silver Cup. We will also probably win the division total business Silver Cup without really much any total business. And that's already about 12 Silver Cups. Okay, that's never been done by I don't know any division that's ever done that, let alone do that in their second year. And by the way, this is like a competitive thing. I don't really give 2 shits about the competition. It's not really about like, I could care less how many cups that we have or, you know, being #1 or anything else like that too. Like that stuff doesn't motivate or inspire me. But what I will tell you guys is like, I've been a part. I remember what it was like to be in that culture when we broke the national record, and broke the all-time record with the company. It's just a different part. It's a different energy. It's a different vibe to be a part of that team. It's an opportunity to really reach our full potential. And that's why I think this is important to set benchmarks like this, because really, truly, that is the potential that we have next year. I mean, there's people in every single category that could perform at such a high level where we could be doing that. And that's what I'm excited about. That is a great division. It's not just one person performing and we got another hot hand office over here. It is looking up and down the bean row and finding success in all areas of our team. And that's what I want to be able to create for us next summer. I'm not interested in seeing one person or two people on our team succeed. I want to see success across the board for our offices and individuals next summer. And just know that no matter who you are, you're going to play a role in that. Even if you're not someone that is thinking about taking a silver cup, there's a lot that gets involved in that process, and you affect the culture of this team. I think about the Stockdale paradox that you guys probably read about in Good to Great. And this is one thing that I talked about, like the first or second TLA prep. And the Stockdale paradox is just, it is having a healthy optimism, healthy level of optimism. Like you still should be excited about the future, but also a grounded, realistic, slightly pessimistic view of reality, of being attached to reality of the situation. He talks about basically, when he was a prisoner of war, the guy that invented Stockdale, the guy that invented the Stockdale paradox, they were prisoner of war for it was 2 years almost. And they asked well, who didn't make it while they were prisoners and who didn't make it out of that? And they're like, oh, well, all the optimists. And they're like, really? It's yeah, all the optimists died because the optimists said, oh, by Thanksgiving, we'll be gone. And then Thanksgiving came around, they were still there. And they're like, we'll be out by Christmas. And then Christmas came around, they were still there. And they're like, we'll be out by Easter. And Easter came around, they were still there. And then the next Thanksgiving came around a year later. And those people got disheartened because they weren't really grounded and attached to the reality of the situation. And I think too, next year, I want to tell you guys that I'm optimistic. And also here's where I'm at, just so you guys can have an idea mentally. I am mentally prepared for shit to go 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as worse in 2021 as 2020 was. That is where I'm mentally prepared to. I'm mentally prepared for the virus to go haywire and, to get a lot worse. I am prepared for government lockdowns and things like that to get a lot worse. I am prepared for things to get a lot more crazier, way crazier than they were in 2020. Okay. And by the way, now, granted, I sure hope that doesn't happen. Okay. Granted, we are training and preparing. I'm not letting that affect me. I'm not letting that get in my head. Right. But I'm also aware enough to say, hey, that very well could happen. And it actually is a pretty, it is a not smart thinking. It's ungrounded to be overly optimistic and be like, well, 2021's gotta be better. It can't get worse than 2020. It's definitely gonna get better. Actually, it could get worse, but here's the deal. And regardless of what happens next year, the climate of the world, whether it gets worse, whether it gets better, we're gonna go out and we're gonna kick some serious ass as a team. And I'm excited about that. No matter what is happening in the world, we're gonna provide opportunities for students when they need it the most. And that's what we're building here too. But it's important to be aware and grounded, right? It's important to have the right perspective. And the last thing that I want to give you guys in opening comments, we're going to talk about Good to Great a little bit more in a second here, is really as you get into this time period. I've had a couple people that have reached out to me that are just it's that time of year where people start to go, oh shit, wait a second, I'm running an office in 4 months. I don't even know how to run an office. What? Wait, what's going on? That sometimes will go through your head. You're like, wait a second, I don't really feel that trained and prepared right now. If you get any of those thoughts, that's kind of normal. And I want to give you, by the way, so if you do have those thoughts, it's probably a little sign of maybe you should get in the office a little bit more. Maybe you should give yourself some confidence. And I think what the winter break is supposed to do for you all is hopefully give you confidence. Okay. Confidence in your training, confidence in your abilities. Go out there and get some practice, get involved. You get confidence through taking action. Okay. You get confidence when you go out there and do something. You can read about high powered level selling skills, but you'll be, you can read about how to sell $4,000 orders, but you'll be a lot more confident in how to sell $4,000 orders when you've gone out there and done it. When you get in there and actually get practice, get real experience. Experience is always the teacher. But I want you guys to have confidence in your training. And I two thoughts that I'll echo for you is, number one, part of it is there's 2 things I want you guys to know. That number one, if you're funded and trained, you'll have an opportunity for next summer. Okay. Territory decisions are coming out. There necessarily won't be opportunities for everybody, but if you're funded and you're trained, there will be an opportunity for you as a branch manager for next summer. Second thing that you need to know is that part of the training process hasn't happened. So this is for more so our first years that are on this call. You have to also understand that in the spring, there's a lot of stuff that we do to prepare and set you up for the summertime. So there's still half of that process has not even happened yet. And that's when it's really the TLA preps. It's just NLG preps. You know, I'm just really working with you all, and we're getting ready and prepared and setting up the summer the right way. So there's still a good portion of that needs to happen. And so what I want to give you some confidence is if you're a first year and you're like, there's still so much I don't know, don't worry. By the time summer rolls around, you will be prepared, you will be trained, you will be set up the right way. And there's a lot of guidance along that process. And you'll never be fully prepared. Okay. So, and also like, there's no way that any type of training level or preparation can actually prepare you 110% for the summertime. There's going to be an element of learning as you go. It's just going to happen. Just like, again, I can take 5 days for a Cutco training and train you even above and beyond what the normal training for a sales rep is. But you have to actually go out and do some demos. Okay. But there's going to be some learning curves. There's going to be some things that happen on demos that you just can't prepare for. You know, customers are going to say things. There's no way I could possibly cover it in training, all the different scenarios that could happen. The experience will always be the biggest teacher. But I do want you guys to have confidence. There's a big component in people's success, and it always comes back down to confidence. People that are more confident have higher results. People that are less confident have lower results. It's the same thing. You guys know this when selling Cutco. People that expect to sell, they go out and they sell. People that don't expect to sell, they go out and they don't sell. That happens as true as in everything in business and life. And I want you all to have confidence in yourself and your abilities, and confidence in the programs. And I think that's one thing that you can take a lot of confidence is confidence in programs. You know, confidence in programs, confidence in the best practices. And what I want you guys to write down, I want you to write down this word. I want you to write down confidence. And I also want you to write down your notes for today. I want you to write down elegance and simplicity. Elegance and simplicity. If it ever feels like there's a whole lot of caca, a whole lot of shit, okay, going on all the time, there's like so much stuff for you to learn. If it ever feels like that, okay, that's because there is. And you can literally spend thousands of years learning all this stuff. There is so much different stuff that you can learn, okay? And you won't know it all. Like you can do this for 5 years, you still won't know it all. I've been doing this for literally almost a decade now. I still don't know it all. I'm still learning all the time. However, okay, there is elegance and simplicity, and you can have confidence in just best practices. And I think it's like one of the big things that you guys will notice as you go into the summer is, you know, what are the key activities that you should be doing that will get you the results? Right? What actually matters? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, you can coach reps in a certain way. Yeah, there's opportunities to take it higher. But like, do you know the fundamentals of how the business works? What creates results? What creates CPO? What gives branch managers success? Because the reality is, guys, is there are a couple different things in our business that if you can get confident in those skills in those areas, literally everything else could be awful in your office. You could mess it all up. But if you just knock out these couple things, you're going to have some success during the summertime. You know, it's kind of like doing the demos. It's like, guys, like the reality is you could be pretty bad at the demo. But if you just are good at making phone calls and good at getting recs, like you're going to sell more than other people because you're going to have more demos. Like it's just how it works. You know, like you might even be below average, but you will outperform other people because you're getting more appointments booked up. You're good at the phones and you're good at getting recommendations. You have a sustainable business. You know, we have the same elements of that during the actual summertime too. So really take elegance and simplicity. And as we go through the next couple of TLA preps, and as you're over the break, I really want you all in the mindset of what are the most important activities? Yeah, there's a lot. There sure is. What's most important? What are the big 3 objectives of every day? What are the objectives of training? What are the important things for me to get done? And this is this is what I talk about being a student of the business, because once you start to understand these things, yeah, you know, you might have the little script, right? Hey, say this to this rep. Yeah, you might have, you know, this thing for this meeting, right? But the reality is if you understand the objectives, shoot, like if you know what you're trying to accomplish when you talk to a representative from their first appointment, their first weekend, you might not say it the right way. Your manager might say, hey, say it this way. You want to say this words, you know, this is a good phrase to throw in there. You might not do all that. But if you know the objectives, you're going to do a good job coaching people. That's it. If you know, like, well, you know, I'm just going to have to talk to this person. I don't know this damn script, but I'm just going to talk to him like a normal person and make sure I accomplish these 3 things. You're going to go out there and have results. Okay. If you're in an interview and you're like, you know, maybe I didn't quite nail it as well as I should have, or a PR call. It's like, do you know the objectives? You know what's most important? There's elegance in just making it simple. And that is going to give you a lot more confidence. Do activities that make you confident. And as you go into the summer, here's the last little thing too that I'll share with you guys. It's the mentality of an Olympic trainer. So do you guys know when the Olympics comes every 4 years for, I guess if they're competing in different sports, like every 8 years. So once the Olympics finishes, someone's going to do the Olympics again. Once the season finishes, they go into what you call the Olympic off season. And during the off season, they spend most of their time working on their what?
Their weaknesses.
Their weaknesses. During the off season, they work on their weaknesses. Off season for us is like the fall. Off season is where you work on your weaknesses. You work on what you're bad at. They try to fix things that they know are weakness areas for them. But as it gets closer and closer to the actual Olympic competition, okay, they throw that out the window. Once it gets to the preseason, they don't spend any more time working on their weaknesses. They don't spend any more energy going towards the things that they are not good at, the things that they are bad at, the areas of opportunity. There are a lot of them, and they forget about them. And they do the activities that give them confidence. They focus on their strengths. They play their strengths, and they focus on doing things that will give them more confidence and more success. You know, and so I think as the winter break is here, really last good opportunity to work on your weaknesses, get in there, get involved in things that you feel like are areas of opportunity for yourself. And then when the spring rolls around, it's confidence time. You know, we want our people going out confident in their abilities in the summertime. And you want to do things that are going to give you more confidence. And by the way, that usually comes from taking action in what you're actually doing here. So those are my thoughts as we kick off this morning. And I want to set just kind of a framework as we get ready to rock and roll for the day. So go ahead and take a quick second to open up your agenda. The first thing we're going to do is a little bit of a good to great debrief here. So take out your notes. We'll debrief a little bit. We already debriefed like the first couple of chapters. So I want to focus mostly on the second half of the book. But feel free to debrief or take away any parts. And by the way, the notes were not due yet. They're actually due tonight at 10 p.m. So I know vast majority of you guys already submitted. But if you didn't submit the Google form that's in the TLA chat, make sure you do that before tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. And if anyone hasn't finished the last chapter or 2 of the book, you got a couple hours before 10 o'clock tonight. But we're going to go on to do the debrief now, so it'll be pretty obvious of who's gotten it done, who hasn't. But let's go around the horn. And I'd like everyone to share a little bit at one point or another, but just go ahead and let's chime in. Biggest takeaways from the book, things that stood out to you personally, things that stood out to you for your office. And we'll go around the horn a little bit here. Who wants to kick us off? And try to reference, if you can, reference the chapter if you know what chapter you're referencing here. And we'll go from there. I'll give you a second to get out your notes if you need to. Yes, Jessica Shannon.
So in chapter 6, this entire section was a huge light bulb for me, just like the type of culture that you want to build. So it says a culture of freedom and responsibility within a framework, and a culture of discipline where the people that are working would just want to get the outcomes, fulfill their responsibilities, regardless of anything else. And that was a huge light bulb for me, thinking of like, you hear a lot in the business, like, yeah, like culture beats strategy, but like what specific culture would create like a great organization?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, exactly. So culture does beat strategy, but what culture beats strategy, right? Well, which culture do you need to have? You know, that culture is a pretty vague thing. Everyone has some type of culture. But when you have that type of culture, really, like, again, it talks in chapter 6, culture of discipline, right? And it goes over the nature of like really how to create that. And I think that is something that you see in strong teams. You know, I think about not just Good to Great, the book that we read, Legacy, the All Blacks, you know, they have a culture of they definitely have, and this isn't necessarily a component of the book, but they've got a culture of discipline. Okay. You know what that team does? The number one team in the entire world for the past, like literally a century, like the most winning team in the world for the past century. They've been the number one team for like, I think it's like 85 out of the 100 years. You know, like that, by the way, those are cleaners. Those are people that like not just the championship one team. It's like they've been the champions for as long as like Like people play entire careers and they're the champions. They're for their entire careers while they're on other teams. And guess what those people do? After the game is over, there's something called sweeping the shed. And as soon as that game finishes, they go into the shed, the reporters come in there, they congratulate them, and they kick all the reporters out, and they start to clean. And they clean up their shed. They clean up their training place. They clean up. And by the way, not just the like no janitors clean it. They clean it themselves. And by the way, it's not like pledging. It's not like, the new guys on the team go and clean everything too. No, the veterans, the highest performing players, the most successful players on the teams are the first ones to start cleaning. And they have a culture of discipline that is rooted inside of them, and I think that's a thing that we see in strong components of strong teams everywhere. There's always a culture of discipline. We'll talk about in a second, like PRs, guys, is the name of the game during the summertime. How many PRs can you set? PRs aren't hard to do. Like we hire high school girls that are seniors and teach them how to call PRs in like 30 minutes and they can do a good job. It's not hard, but who are the people that perform at a high level? The people that have a disciplined muscle that is trained, where they're like, yeah, I could set 30 PRs. It's not even a big deal. I'll do it around my schedule. There's a discipline component that is involved in that. I don't think anyone here struggles to like talk to do the PR call, but it's like, hey, how fast, how many are you actually set? How disciplined are you? That's the component that changes the game. Love that, Jess. Let's get some other shares here. Rochelle.
Awesome. Yeah, I have 2 from chapter 9. So the first one was, it's no harder to be great than it is good. And I think that kind of goes with like knowing your main outcomes, setting PRs, and maybe the outcomes of the conversations with reps, but having the clarity, knowing like what's vital and what's not, what's going to be like a waste of your energy. And that's been a big learning experience for me over this branch experience. It's like, who do I pour myself into and who's like not really ready to receive that? And then I took a really good quote out of chapter 9. It was, I want them to have a great experience, an experience to be a part of something absolutely first class. And I felt like that really just aligned with what we do in our business. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said, hey, it's no harder to be good than it is to be great. That's that's something important to note is like, guys, the people that go out and win silver cups this summer are going to work just as hard. Now, let me clarify. They're going to work pretty similar in terms of amount of workload as someone that is going to underperform this summer. It's going to be pretty similar. They're going to do almost the same things every single day for the whole summer. They're going to wake up similar times. They're going to, accomplish the same activities. They're going to run the same interviews. They're going to run the same team meetings. They're doing all of the same work, but it's that extra level of discipline and culture, right? That goes into it. It's what are they doing as they do the work? What's their mentality as they actually accomplish it, right? Are they focused on the big 3 for each day? Are they focused on the objectives of winning the day and know where to put their energy into it? Good teams still work pretty hard, but it's that extra 5 or 10% in the right areas that takes teams and makes them great. So love that. Who else wants to share here?
I'll kind of just piggyback off of what everyone's been saying. And this was a pattern that I noticed throughout the book. It's just replicating your best people and knowing that bringing a business from good to great is that the best people don't have to be managed. So I think that's kind of just going with the culture of your business. And another thing that I took away, I don't remember specifically which chapter, but it was rigorous versus ruthless. So I know being ruthless is like just firing people on the spot and like someone being in a scarce mindset where they have to fight for their position and they never know like what's going to happen to me next, versus being rigorous means that someone can fully concentrate on their work without having to worry about their position within the company.
Yeah.
And I think that just takes the business to the next level.
It's like ruthless is like without the heart. Rigorous is like with the heart, but still very high standards, for how you carry yourself and operate. And also, the best people don't need to be managed. Here's a little bit too, like you guys during the summertime for branches, for branches in the summertime, we're going to have, you'll probably have a one-on-one call with somebody, might be your respective manager or your district manager. We'll also have group calls and stuff like that too during the summertime. I remember there's a couple like I'm thinking about Audrey and Lindsay here too this past summer when y'all like first started too, and like the first like week or two of branching, it was like, holy shit, like, wait, I need help. And I was like, no, you don't, you're good, you got it. And it was like there was just like a wait, like who's like, what do I do? And it's like, you know what to do. You got it. You're good. You don't need to talk to me every day. You're good. And that's things like the best people don't need to be managed. And you all are going to be at a level of training where there's not necessarily, you're going to know what to do. And there's still a lot of support. Don't make me wrong. There's literally tons of calls all the time. There's like multiple calls every other day. You're touching base with people. We have DM calls. We have group calls. There is a lot of support that happens. And there's also not someone that's there to hold your hand and walk you down the road. You know, like you're going to have a call, say, hey, here's what you got to do today, and boom. And then you have autonomy. What you do for the rest of the day, whether you just like sit around and don't call PRs, whether you like go out and crush your interviews, whether you say, all right, I'm just going to go back to sleep or something like that. Like that's all your own choice. No one's going to guide your hand and baby you along and tell you like what to do at every second of the day. And there is still a lot of support that happens from that time period too. But I want to speak to that as well, because sometimes it's a big jump for people, but there's going to be some personal autonomy that you have. And that's good for you to develop into. That's, by the way, why the branch experience is great. That is what makes it great, is because you have to make decisions from yourself. Is because when you have a problem at 3:00 in the afternoon on Monday and you're freaking out because this rep just said this and it's messing up your whole team, like you might be able to call someone and get a hold of them. You might get a hold of, me or Mike or somebody, but chances are we're not available, So like, you might like, wait, I need help. No one's helping you. You got to figure it out. You got to make your own decision, and you might make the wrong decision, but that's the best part, is that you have to make the decisions. You have to make the choices, and you have to call the shots. And part of that process is like that. There's no other better experience than that too. And that really kind of reveals, where your strengths and weaknesses are. So cool. Who else wants to chime in here a little bit? Taylor.
So something that stuck out to me was in chapter 4, and it was 3 ways that people deal with trauma. So like category 1 is people are permanently dispirited by the event. Category 2 is those who get their life back to normal. And then category 3 is people who use the experience as a defining event that made them stronger. And I feel like that's really important in anything that you do. If something goes wrong, you have to be able to build from that instead of going backwards or staying at the same point. So I feel like it can be applied to like a lot of different situations, to just be aware of that and know that that's what you should do after like something bad happens.
Yeah. And that's what we talk about a lot with the ACE 2020 blueprint, the 2020 reflection. Like, that's why you do that too. It's like one of the exercises in that after you've gone and done a review the past year is just really looking for like, hey, all the highs and the lows and the challenges and the great times, and just looking for like, hey, what was the gift? Like, what was the gift in that situation? And being able, like, that's like being able to find the gift in every single moment. And some of them are very easy to find, like, oh, that I'm so glad that happened because then this came out of it. Other ones, it's like, I don't really know what good came out of that one. But learning how to find that gift, like, it impacted me in this way. It set me up this way. It changed my mentality. I had, there was a time period where I actually one summer, it was 2000, Jonathan and Adrian were assistant managers for the summer. And I had a Dom going into the summer, and I had to let this girl go about a month into the summer. And that really, when you have a Dom or a PSM or someone that you're trained for the summertime, it is, you do put, there's always backups, but you do put a lot of eggs in one basket, and it's pretty hard in the boom, May, right when things are getting hot to have to make that choice. And, I remember looking back on it when this was 2019, I think, at the end of the year, and it's looking back on this, like, those time periods. And like, for me, I was like, it was good that I did that, because I could very easily see myself making the exact same mistake again. And like, what's the gift and what's like the lessons that I learned from that? And it's like, hey, cool, be a little bit more aware. I'm like, hey, maybe don't like blindly trust people. as much and look for some of the warning signs a little bit earlier. Like there's just different things that taught me, and it made me a better manager, a better leader because of that process. And that's what happens a lot of times when we have any type of events that don't seem great in the moment. Thanks for sharing, Taylor. Who else? Let's get a couple more shares here before we move on. Anthony.
So mine was from chapter 8, talking about the doom loop. And I just think it's really important that, you really need to build momentum early. And it's one thing that I just got overall from like the entire, reading was how you have to master the things that you can before you try to master the things that you can't. Because if you try to do all the things that you can't before the things that you literally have in front of you, then you're just going to get into a cycle where you're not going to get the results that you want. You're just going to have to keep trying and trying over and over again. Finally, get the results you want.
Sorry, I had to mute myself from PDI coming in. Thanks for sharing, Anthony. Yeah, that's probably my favorite chapter in the book and just my favorite concept. It's just the idea and the concept of momentum, which I've talked about a lot. And like, guys, it's just so true. That's why I said even in TLA prep, hey, leave people better than you found them. Just leave the space, leave the campsite just better than you found it. Every interaction, you're leaving people better than you found them. And that's like not like that crazy of a thing to do. It's not like I want to change the world. It's like, just leave people a little bit better than you found them. But what happens is you like that compounds. If you leave every single time you come in contact with some person or an individual or a group or a team, they're 1% better off because they spoke to you or because you were in their presence or because you were at that party or you were at that event. Everyone there's a 1% better. Like that thing compounds over time. That adds up quickly, and soon you're living a completely different life where you're impacting all the people you come in contact and get around every single day, and it reciprocates right back to you. Momentum is the most powerful thing, having momentum in your branch and doing things that give you positive momentum. It's why, like, by the way, sometimes some of y'all are in this spot right now, or have been here before. Like why do good sales reps that have good sales get on no sales streaks? Right. And also, why do they make big runs where they're dropping like 50, 60 grand? Like we've all seen people that have done that before. I've seen plenty of reps that have gone out and sold 40 grand in 2 weeks. And then for some reason, some other time period in the future, it's like, 6 months, a year later down the road, they can't seem to sell $1,000 in 2 weeks doing a bunch of demos. It's just a momentum game. And it starts getting in your mindset and your psyche and your confidence, and it starts affecting the way that you speak and think and dream about outcomes. It is a positive success loop that is fueling you. And you're like, damn, I just sold again. Damn, I just sold again. I'm on a roll. I'm going to sell on every appointment. Like you just literally believe. You're like, dude, I think I'm going to drop $3,000 the next one, like where it's like, that's just literally what you're there. Like, yeah, hell yeah. I'm trying to make it $10,000 a day today, And then other times it's like, yeah, I just want to sell a homemaker. Please, please, please let me sell a homemaker. Like, and that's where you're mentally at, and like, and it is a positive momentum loop or a destructive momentum loop always. In our business, by the way, it always is momentum. So one of the things that we'll talk about, one of the things like Audrey, Lindsay, Mason, this is what you get when you go out like your third time, is you start to really understand the ebbs and flows of the business. Meaning like you understand like, okay, this week everyone else dips down and we have a big push. And then that week right after, everyone goes boom and plummets. Like Jonathan this summer as a branch. He's like, I'm going to have a $200,000 August. And I was like, look, let me explain to you how August works. and I was like, look, that might be, he's like, well, how much do other branches do? I'm like 10. And like, anyways, I remember just kind of walking through this is like, you have to kind of know the ebbs and the flows of like, hey, this is a time everyone's going to elevate. So I should be elevating as well. And this is time everyone's going to dip. So can I maybe like navigate that dip? Can we maintain where we're at? Can I maintain the momentum? And that's a big part of it is like when you can connect, like a lot of branches go up and down like this all summer. 10 grand week, 2 grand week, 15 grand week, 3 grand week. Like that happens a lot. But when you can connect a couple weeks in a row, then that's when the momentum really starts. Something I noticed when I was a branch, when I wanted to go out and break the record, or no, the first time I wanted to win a silver cup, I noticed it's usually the first person to a 30 grand week is the person that wins a silver cup, typically. And that's what I started noticing. I noticed Ty Greenberg. I noticed the other people that had won Silver Cups in the previous year. And I was like, how fast can you get to a 30 grand week? And then after you hit it, you got to maintain that for a week or two after. Because there's some guys that I saw every single year, they hit 30 grand week, then boom, back down to the floor, and they don't ever really bring it up to the same level ever again. But then the people, I was like, all right, how fast can I get to a 30 grand week? How fast can I get a 30 grand week in May? Can I get a 30 grand week first week or 2 of June? How fast can I get there? And then boom, can I maintain this for 2 weeks? Because once you do that, boom, you've unlocked the momentum, and it's positively working in your favor. Or negative momentum, which sometimes happens too. It's PRs. And our business is like the momentum business because the reps launch, we get the PRs, it literally fuels the next week's results based off of how last week's results had. That is exactly how our business works. So, and another thing just to keep in mind, and the same thing momentum that I'll tell you guys is, as a manager, 2 to 3 weeks of work effort, then the results come. That's always how it is. You put in the work, and then 2 weeks later, the results come. Which is why, sales reports can be deceiving, because you can be the number one office in the country, and your office can actually be going in a bad direction, and you have negative momentum. I've been there before, where the sales results are high, but recruiting didn't happen that week. So the sales results will not continue to be high because you dipped in recruiting. And yes, the sales results are high this week, but the next 2 weeks, they're not going to continue to be the same rate. They're going to go down because your recruiting dipped down. And all other times, you might be working your butt off with recruiting, and the sales report's still pretty small because you haven't harvested and reaped the rewards from that hard work yet. It's 2 to 3 weeks typically, and then you see the results follow what you do during that time period. So just a little quick mentality here for the branches on how to execute too. Jonathan's not ahead a lot. There's a lot of conversations I know we've had for our first time branches that are going out second time. You all know what I'm talking about and how this kind of ebbs and flows will work a little bit too. So let's get a couple more shares from, let's go to Chloe.
All right. So one of the first things when I first started reading the book that I wrote down was just the whole idea that we don't have a lot of great businesses. We don't have a lot of great schools because so many people are okay with settling at good. And then when I read, it was the hedgehog concept. Just kind of building a structure, not off of a lot of different aspects of the company, but figuring out, what can you be the best at, what drives your economic engine, and then what are you passionate about, and just kind of building a structure based on that. So really figuring out and being self-aware, what am I really good at that can help drive the business versus sitting there trying to just be okay and average at all aspects. Just find the things you're really good at that you can build on and make it better that way. So I thought that was really interesting because I know for me, I'm very self-aware that I'm not good at everything. And I want to be, but I know I'm not. So it's like for me, when I do branch or get the opportunity to, it's like, what can I make my company from? What can make my business better? And just kind of structuring it that way instead of being too hard on myself about everything.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, the hedgehog concept was one of my favorite parts in the book, and it talks about just the difference between teams that try to accomplish multiple different things and try to get good at everything versus the teams that just choose to get really great at one or two areas. I remember growing up when I graduated high school, I was kind of like a somber time for me at the time because I was really, really, really involved, and I did so many different things, and I was really good at all of them and great at none of them. I was a really good wrestler, and I lost my state semi-qualifier match. So I was pretty good. I just wasn't, that great. I was really good at music. In middle school, I was the number one chair in the state. And then I got in high school and I still really enjoyed music, but I was definitely not one of the top musicians there. I was really good at school. I was pretty smart. I was really academic and studious. And, I wanted to go to one of the top, schools in the country. And I was pretty smart. I was probably smarter than, or better academically than most people my age, that average. And then I got denied from all of my best schools. There was multiple things. I was pretty good at a lot of different things and not really great at none. It was the same thing with Cutco. I was hey, I ran a good branch that summer. I was solid and I wasn't really great. I was just whatever. It wasn't really anything that impressive. Remember that my dad used to always call me the jack of all trades, master of none. Or the Renaissance man. And that was kind of I remember when there was one point where I was F that. And that was, by the way, when I went out and won this next Silver Cup. I was like, you know, I don't want to be the guy that's good at a lot of things and great at nothing. You know, I need to go out and prove that I can be the best at something that I'm doing. And that's when I went out, won my first Silver Cup. You know, but I think the same thing is true in our business of like, hey, what are the areas that you are good at? Focusing on your strengths, playing those. And also there's some areas where everyone just needs to be good at them. Meaning like, here's something I had this conversation with Tyler and Elsis, or not Tyler, I think. Here's the deal. One of the biggest numbers, actually, I'll just tell you guys, what is one thing that you do as a branch manager that if you do this at a high level, everything else can suck, but you probably will perform and go out and get results? Chloe?
Is it a recruiting or SMRA program?
Okay, SMRA program is definitely one of them. Okay. Another one is, Lindsay?
Your fire number and cycle.
Fire number. PRs, okay? You can be literally bad at everything else, okay? You can suck at pretty much everything else. And if you crush your fire number on a weekly basis, if you crush your PR set, you'll go out and have some performance results. I promise, okay? Also, you can be good at literally everything else. You can be good at literally everything, really good. And if you suck with your PR number, your office is still going to suck performance-wise. It's just the reality, okay? Like, and that's one of those things of like I'm just telling you guys right now, when I have to like convince branch managers in the middle of the summer, I'm like, hey, setting your PRs is important. And then they're like, oh man, like every time I'll have a branch, it's just been like 2 weeks, they've been off the game. And then they go out there and they set 20 or 30 PRs and they're like, wow, like recruiting's happening. Like I have people in training, like we're selling this week. I was like, isn't it funny how that works? That's the one thing. And it's like, you can do so many things as a branch manager that like just take your time in different areas, right? In the sake of like just working and doing stuff. But it's like, cool, but are you doing the most important activities? Are you getting really good at those ones? You know, the people that go out there and do that, like they go out and they kick some butt. That's a hedgehog concept. It's playing your strengths, playing what are the couple of activities that are really going to create results? And they're usually your personal PR setting and crushing the SMRA program. That's what gets everything else going in the business. Any other comments, takeaways before we wrap up? Yeah, Lindsay?
Yeah, real quick. This was in chapter 6. Basically, it said it was an equation. It was level 5 leader equals humility and will. And I am no merchant. So the humility part is a little bit tougher for me. So I think I had half the equation this past summer. I had more of the will, kind of lost more of the humility, and like the people are your business. Like if you're focused on working on the business and it's not the people, you're not going to get the results that you want. So just stuck out to me.
Yeah, I love that. One of the biggest distinctions, guys, that you can make as a summer, and it's hard because you're only doing it for a couple months in the summer, but act like you're building a company. Act like you're starting a business, like a real business, not one that you're going to close down at the end of the summer. Act like you're building, you just graduated from college, your business degree, someone just gave you $10 million, and you're going to go out and you've already got your product set up and you're going to start hiring and selecting for your company. And you're going to build a great team and scale that team. And you're going to start off with a couple employees and eventually you'll have 20. Eventually you're going to have 100, 500 person company, right? Think about it in that capacity as you hire and take people on this summer. Like you wouldn't just like hire your first 5 people in your company and you're just not going to talk to them. Hey, welcome to the company. I'm going to start a great company. And you guys are the first employees. And yeah, I'm not going to train you or anything. Or I'm not going to talk to you guys. I just go do your jobs. Like you would be intentional about even just building the team, the way you build relationships, like out of service of looking at what your guys are excited about building. Like that's just one of the biggest things is like, if you can switch that mentality of I'm building a long-term company, a long-term vision, because you really are, by the way, like your reps build long-term vision for them. Even if you don't branch again a second time, which I'll do the second branch plug, which is you totally should do it a second time. That's when you really get to learn. The first summer, you get to learn all your weaknesses. That's kind of what goes out and happens. Second summer, you get to go out and learn how to like scale it and really build it. The difference between my learning curve between the second and first was massive. But when you go out there, think with the end in mind of like, hey, these reps will be at the end of the summer. They can go out to TLA. Even if you don't know if you're going to run a second branch next summer, although a lot of you all will, guess what? If you develop people throughout the summertime, those can all be assistants for you the next summer. That's really how you elevate and take it to a higher level. but you have to actually go out and be intentional about building relationships with your people as you go out there and do that, and coming from that place. So it's 11 o'clock, guys. If you didn't read the book, you know who you are. Give those debriefs into me by 10 o'clock tonight if you haven't submitted it yet. Let's take a quick, we're going to take a little quick laser break just so people can use the restroom or get water or anything like that too. So 5 minutes. Let's come back here at 11:07 and we'll dive into the second half. Great first half of the session, guys. 11:07. See y'all soon.
If there were no rich, no poor, if everyone were equal, religion would be soon to disappear. People only develop religion when they're unhappy with this world.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started, gang. I'm back. Actually, I'm grabbing water. All right, and we are back. Take a quick second to get out your notes. We're gonna go over some training objective keys, and then we'll do a branch manager pay review. Just I think we went over at Fall Classic, but just want to review real quickly again today. And we'll do our territory questionnaire as well as the masterclass series with Jonathan Castell on Go National. So let's start off. I want to give some training objective review. So we won't spend too long on this, but one of the things that you guys should do over the break, and most of you all, the training that you're going to watch is going to be this upcoming training on December 15th and 16th. So next Tuesday and Wednesday. That's the one I would recommend watching. That way the rest of you've already got knocked out of the way. And most of you all in some capacity are already going to be involved in that training seminar. So that's a good one for you probably to take some time to watch. The vast majority of you all will not be running training next summer. Okay. So you're not running it this summer. By the way, just so you guys know, some context for first years, every other year, like you needed to know how to run an interview. You need to know how to run SMRA training. You run your own training. Okay. You would have to run 14 hours of training. And that was a big part of the process. In fact, what we typically did around this time is there would be scripting, So again, anyone that, as much as TLA is a lot and it's busy, look, it's so much easier than it's ever been. Usually during this time period, you guys, there would be 14 hours of watching videos and scripting, which really took more than 14 hours because you're sitting there watching it, typing out every single word that is said in the training. There's no script. You create your own script by copying it from somebody else and actually typing it down. By the way, that's one of the best ways to learn anything is taking some time to actually script it out and just typing out the words. It helps literally your brain like process the information and learn it a lot faster, right? But you guys don't have to learn the training seminar. Okay. You don't have to run it, but you still need to learn the training seminar. And what I mean by that is you're going to be a support person. So number one, you want to know how to facilitate and support really well. You want to know the objectives, and you also want to know the lingo of how things are being promoted, how things are taught. So when you watch the training, I would still script it out as much as possible. I would write down everywhere, whether you watch my training, Mike's training, someone else's training, I would write down everything that is being said. So even again, what's going to happen is you're not necessarily going to be the one speaking, although some of you will. Some of y'all will give certain talks in the training seminar. So I might Mike write running training, but I'm helping out and I have my teams on there with him and I'm giving the talk on PRs or recommendations. So there's still probably, number one, is a component of training that you might be running and leading. Number two, you want to have the same lingo. You want to be able on PDI to promote the same things. If reps are hearing different things in the interview, then they hear training and then they get coached by you and it's slightly different, it's still enough to be confusing to the representative. They need to hear the same thing over and over and over again. The words that you're speaking to your reps need to be consistent with what they're hearing in training. So understanding that is a really, really important aspect of just representative success and retention during it. So let's walk through just real quickly the objectives of the training, and then we'll give a couple tips on for around the horn from people that just how to facilitate well. So think about day one of training. Okay, day one of training. There's a lot going on day one of training. In fact, let's just walk through the training seminar real quickly. What's the first talk in training? And I would probably take notes on this and write this down as we go through. What's the first talk in training? Day one. First talk.
Opening comments.
Opening comments. Okay. So opening comments. Opening comments is about an hour and a half long for most offices. And what are some things that we are trying to accomplish in opening comments?
Trying to pop any fear bubbles that they might have in training, establish credibility,
Create culture.
Somebody else a chance.
Create culture.
Establish confidence.
Give them confidence, right? Pop any fear bubbles. How do I do this? How do I do give them confidence and well, what do we want them to have confidence in?
Program and the processes.
Program the processes. We want them to have confidence in the company, the product, and their ability to perform well at the job. That's what we want to give them confidence. It's most of opening comments is really what it is. It's just we want to give them some confidence, pop fear bubbles, give them confidence in the background of the company, confidence in their team, confidence in the Cucko product, confidence in their ability to go out there and perform and have success. Cool. And that's the main things that we want to accomplish in opening comments, and then just give them a walkthrough for training. What's the next talk after opening comments?
Keys to success.
Keys to success, or just we call it the day one, well, keys to success is probably a portion of opening comments, right? So after we finish opening comments, then we do the day one.
Demo walkthrough.
Okay. Then we walk through the actual presentation. What do we want to make sure we're doing while we do that? What's some goals or objectives of accomplishing while we're getting that done? It's gonna be pretty similar.
Showing them how easy it is just to read the manual.
Yeah, how easy it is to read the manual. And by the way, going again, confidence. That's really what it is. We want to give them just confidence in how easy the damn demo is. It's really, really easy. Like that's the objective of day one demo walkthrough. So walk them through it, give them the basics, give them a lot of confidence on how easy it is and how the fact that they can do this and they're going to go out and sell if they can read. And making sure that you nail the 4 keys. Hey, follow the manual, call the office, see the target market, and enthusiasm sells. If you can accomplish those things, you're going to have a good day one demo walkthrough. If they have confidence and they understand what the fundamentals are. After the day one demo walkthrough, we finish up the demo. What's the next thing we go over? Then we have a break, and then we come back and we do. Most offices will do a pay review after that. Some offices are doing, across the division, we'll do pay review on day one. So there's a pay review. What do we want to accomplish when we're reviewing pay?
Just make sure they understand the pay and they're confident. They know they're getting paid and how they're
Make sure they understand how it works. Make sure they have confidence in it. And then also ignite them and excite them a little bit for the potential that's available for them too. And that's when there's the last part of the pay talk. There's a little section where we go off on dirty 30. We talk about, hey, President's Club letter, making 30%, working part-time, full-time, big time, and also qualifying them that run interview for TLA. Pay talk. After we do that, we do which is one of the most important talks in training?
Names list.
Names list. Okay, names list talk. What's the objectives of the name list talk? What do we want to get? Quantity wise, how many names do we want people to average during the names list talk?
50 to 100, is it? No.
100 to 200.
100 should be the average. 100 is the average. We want every single person over 100. Okay. You want the names list should be 100 is what you want to get people to. Now, you always will have people that won't get to 100. You'll have people that will just get to like 50, but you want the average to be around 100, with a lot of people going to 150 and 200. Average is right around 100, and the lowest you want anyone at is at 50. Okay. And again, the objectives here are to expand their list of people that they have the opportunity to potentially call. Number 2 is to give them confidence. Again, this activity is usually a confidence builder or a confidence breaker. If they go through that activity and they're very selective in their head and they're not like putting down people and they come up with a list of 20, 30 people, they're actually usually less confident after you finish that activity. Those are the ones that usually quit before the phone jam, or as the phone jam starts, because they don't feel like they have enough people to see. Right? People get down way more names, even if they don't see all of them, they just have more confidence that I have a lot of people to choose from that I could go out and potentially do some demos with. It makes it easier for them, that assignment that night, and getting the numbers. So giving them some confidence of hey, just how many people you could show Cucko to, and walking them through that names list exercise. So then after we do that, and then by the way, it's just important to know those numbers. So you want to know, if I'm facilitating training, I want to know what my people are at. I also want to know, so I can have maybe if I see anyone that got below 50, spidey senses should tingle. This person's going to quit before the end of the day unless I have a conversation with them. That's hey, I should try and call this person between the break and talk to them a little bit about it, give them some confidence, because they're probably not confident right now. Then we do names list. Then after that, we do what?
The target market review.
Yep. Target market, MAC customers. Hey, who are the people that you actually want to go out and see? And I'll tell you guys, this is one of those small PPR tips, but it is, do your people actually have their best customers first? Okay. Really, really important. And I have done this too. I'll take the fault and blame on this one, that I've been a culprit of this many, many times. I have let a rep convince me. Okay, by the way, this is always happening. Sell or be sold. I have been sold by a representative that, oh yeah, it's not my best customers first, but I really feel good about these ones, even though they're not my top 5 customers. I'm going to see them first. The thing is, guys, they don't make it to their top customers. Like if they schedule their best 5 customers on Sunday, they usually don't make it to Sunday. They usually do 3 or 4 no sales, and then they don't even get to the best customers. So it's something you have to understand as a manager of like, hey, just statistically, look, they're not going to make it to Sunday. It doesn't matter what they tell you. They got to have their best customers first. If they're not seeing one of their top 5 customers for their first, number 1 and number 2 demos, cancel that shit. I'd rather them do less demos their first weekend and see their best people, quality over quantity, even though we want the quantity to be there too. But that's just a big key in making sure your customer, they understand also too, during that exercise, who are the top 5, not most comfortable 5, but their best 5, right? A lot of times their best 5 are the ones that they're most comfortable to see first. Those aren't necessarily their best 5 customers to see, right? Who the easiest sales are going to be. Those are the people they want to see first right out of training. We do that. We go over the assignment, which is important to execute. Again, if they work hard and do the assignment, if they show up to training with 50 names and numbers, they're going to crush it. They're faster. 80, they'll have a 10K faster. If they show up with less than 20, they probably won't make it through the rest of the day 2 of training. Just how it works. So making sure we nail the assignment. After we go to assignments, then the last 2 parts of training are to go over schedule, and then we hit the phones. So there's a lot going on in day 1 of training. What are the big 3 objectives of day 1? And you guys can kind of see the trends of the objectives throughout the day. What are the objectives of like, okay, cool, there's a lot going on, but what do we want to make sure that our representatives leave day 1 with?
Confidence in the job and the position.
Step one. You got it. Confident. So confidence, okay, and confidence in the company, the product conviction, and confidence in their ability to do the job. Those are the big 3 things that we're trying to hit on in confidence. We want confidence in the company. They want confidence in the Cutco product, build some product conviction. And then we want them to have, confidence in their ability to go out and do the job. That's objective number 1. What are the other 2 objectives of day 1 of training?
Leave with 5.
Okay. That second objective is they got to leave with at least 5 demos. Another big statistic. They leave with less than 5 demos, they ain't showing up tomorrow. I promise you. Or they don't even make it once training starts. Like 99% of the time. Okay, it doesn't matter. And again, I've been a culprit of this. I've done this before. I've let the representative, I have to, even though we started the phone jam an hour before training ends, my mom called me. I have to hop off the Zoom early. I have to leave here, but I'll definitely get my demo set up tonight before I come in tomorrow. No, they won't. They won't. I don't get it done. They show up tomorrow without any demos, or they just don't show up. They don't get them done. And I think 5 is just the number where like they are mentally committed enough to where they can't back out of it usually. Like most people, once they've got the demo set up, they're like, all right, I'm not going to cancel these now. I can't. I have to do these demos. I just called my friends and family. Like I'm going to do 5 demos. Before they do that, they don't have any skin in the game outside of just the fact that they sat through training all day. But they haven't done anything yet. There's no skin in the game. There is nothing that's holding them accountable to coming back the next day. And they also don't have confidence that they can even get the appointment set up because they haven't done it yet. Right. Usually that first demo is kind of like, crazy for people. Then they're like, oh, this is pretty easy. So giving them confidence, getting them 5 demos. What's the other objective of day 1? Go ahead, Jonathan.
To get them more names and numbers on their.
Yep. Get more names and numbers on their sheet. Yeah. Give them more names and numbers to call from. Those are the 3 objectives that you want to accomplish on day 1. Let's go over to day 2. Super fast here. Let's walk through day 2. Start day 2. It's some kind of opening comments, finishing how to have a strong fast start talk. Then we go into a phone jam with our teams. Okay. And we want to make sure that every single representative is getting what's the average demos that needs to happen in the phone jam. Yeah, we leaving with 10. Okay. Realistically, guys, this is another big PPR metric. Okay. They get 10 demos. Again, it's just like, it doesn't matter how talented the reps you think they are or how good the quality of reps. Like 10 demos needs to be the average. If you do that, you're going to have a good first weekend average. If the demo average is less than 10, you are going to have a poor performance for their first weekend. Because the goal is we want people to average how much their first weekend on the job.
$1K.
$1,000. That's typically going to break down to, you want 80% of your training class to be at $1,000 when they come into advanced training 1 on Monday. 10% of the training class is probably going to be like $3 to $6K. 10% of the training class is not going to make a sale, or they're going to barely sell anything, or it's like $200. Cool. That's an ideal training class. Okay. If they leave with an average of 6 or 7 demos, your training class is going to look like something like this. 20% of your training class is going to get to $1,000. Maybe you have one person go a little bit above over, and the majority of your training class, 60 to 70% of it is going to be under $500. Okay. 10 is the amount of demos that they need to sell $1,000, more likely than not. Because here's the deal. They have 10 demos booked. They don't get 10 demos done. They get 6 or 7 of them done. They get cancellations. So they got 10 booked. They're going to get 6 or 7 done. That gives them enough appointments to have a couple no sales, a couple small sales, and get to $1,000 no matter what. And then your top performers are going to go out there and crush it. You know, they'll sell a couple homemakers their first weekend. But that gives them enough shots at selling $1,000. If they leave with 7 demos on average, they're going to get about 4 or 5 done. Probably 2 of those are going to be no sales, which means they're going to have 1 or 2 sales their first weekend. Does not really give them a good shot at, if their sale is not a big sale, or, you know, something at least $1,000 or more, they're not going to sell much their first weekend. They're not going to come to advanced training with a ton of confidence. So again, you just need to know mentally, like, hey, they've got to have at least 10 demos booked to have some success their first weekend. That needs to be the average. Not every person, but some people are going to have it 12, 13, 14, 15, 18. Some people are only going to have it like 6, 7, or 8, but it should needs to be an average of 10 demos. That's what you want to accomplish in the phone gym. It's also one of the big objectives for that day. You can do a raffle contest, things like that. Another big part of helping and create that number is making sure your people average 5 the first night, and they also book some extra demos from home that night or the next morning. Because you want, like, here's how you ensure you get to 10 is if the average is like 6 or 7 when they show up on the second day. If most people booked up a couple extra demos from home and the average people are showing up with like 6, 7, or 8 demos, it'll be very, very easy to get the average to 10. Okay. If they show up with an average of 5 or worse, an average of less than 5, because some people showed up with only like 3 or 4, it's going to be hard to get that group to 10. You know, typically I'd say you could probably average 3 to 4 demos per head from a good phone jam. Some people are going to get more, but some people are going to get less. So you want to be around like 6 or 7. So you have the phone jam, you come back. We do the closing talk, prices, closing. What's the objective as we're going over that?
They understand the prices and they know how to close.
Understand the prices, but what do we want them to understand about the prices?
Oh, everyone.
That people can afford this. We want to give them confidence that people can afford Cutco's products, and we want to get them an understanding. Again, big objective on this day is if you accomplish this, your people go out and sell and perform. If they think their customers can't afford this, or if they're in that mentality, they will not sell their first weekend. They will not sell anything, because they're going into their presentations expecting their customers to not purchase from them because they can't afford it. Okay. So like popping that bubble and making them understand, like, look, if you're seeing soccer moms, middle-aged, married people that live in a house at home, they can afford everything in this book. Okay. They can afford it if they want to, and really getting that across to them. So going over closing and prices. Then we hop into dropping down. We hop into teaching the last parts of the demo, how to call into the office. Then we do something called a fast start talk and PR talk. How many PRs do we want to average in the PR talk per head?
150.
150. Okay, I would say in the virtual environment, 125 has to be the standard. Okay, we did notice some results a little bit low. Just it's a little bit challenging, a little bit more challenging when you're virtual than if you were physically in person with them. But I'd say 125, 150 is a really good average. 125 needs to be like the standard though, of how many PRs you collect per head. Now, when that breakdown happens, guys, it's not like the average person gives you 125. It's like 10/10, like it is with most things. Meaning, a lot of people are just giving you around 100. Some people are going to give you like 20 to 50 or 0. And then there's going to be people in your group that have 1,000 contacts on their phone, 800, 600 of their friends, 500. It's all about getting the people that have a lot, the popular kids in your training class. Those ones are the ones that need to go big. If you miss out on those opportunities, it brings your average down. When you have someone that could have given you 450 and they recommend 10, that's what kills you. So making sure that the average is at least 125 across the board, and you're nailing that. That's probably the most important talk on day 2 of training is your PR talk. Okay, is the execution of there. Then we go, the wrap up is recommendations. We do maybe some role play in there. We do a demo review. We will light them on fire before they go out for their first few appointments. So what are the big 3 objectives of day 2 of training? If I'm a facilitator, what do I want to make sure gets accomplished with my team on day 2 of training?
Leave with 10.
Number 1 objective is they got to leave with 10 demos. Average 10 demos in your training class per head. What's the second objective?
They're comfortable with the prices and understand that everyone can afford Kaka.
Yeah, I think it's just creating an expectation of sales success.
Yep.
Right. So I would add in the prices and giving them confidence there, just their overall expectations, the mentality, but just do they leave with an expectation of selling? Right? Do they have a confidence and expectation of sales success? Third objective is
collect all their PRs?
Collect all their PRs. Average 100 and 150 PRs per head in the training class. Those are the big 3 objectives. Average 10 demos, average 150 PRs, and make sure that they have confidence in themselves and an expectation to sell as they leave day 2 of training. If you guys accomplish those objectives on day 1 and day 2 with your crew, again, there's a lot of little talks, but if they have those things, if they go finish day 1 of training, get 5 demos set when they leave, they have confidence in the company, the product, and the themselves. And if they, gosh, I'm blanking here. What was the third objective day 1? Which was I hit on?
Confidence, 5 demos.
Oh, and then if they have average 100 names on their names list assignment. Day 2, do they average 10 demos? Do they average 150 PRs? Do they have expectations to sell when they go out there? If you do those things, guys, you're going to create success with your people in that weekend too. So as you guys watch training over the break, I would make sure that you are looking for those things and you're looking to see like, how are these objectives being accomplished throughout the day? And that's what you're kind of doing a mental checklist with your reps and your teams that you're facilitating is like, hey, do these people have these 3 things? Are these being accomplished with them? And if you notice like, hey, I don't think this is really being done with this person, that the chances you as a facilitator during the breaks on a phone call to help kind of urge and nudge that process of getting one of those 3 things accomplished there too. So, all right, we're going to tee things up. We're going to skip over Apex best practices for time period here. I figured we're going to have to do that. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick second to review branch pay. So this will be a review from Fall Classic. If you guys want to go ahead and open up the Nlg Drive, and you can download the branch manager pay program. And I'll take a couple seconds to go over this. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. You guys have this. And this is pretty much review for people that have already run an office. Pretty straightforward. For those of you guys haven't, maybe it's a little bit more confusing the first time you're seeing this. But most of y'all have seen this at Fall Classic already. So let's go over, there's some models here. Okay. But first thing is let's go over the actual income that you make. Okay. So as a manager, you make overrides off of all of the sales that happen inside of your office. Okay. And it goes in the exact opposite direction of where a sales rep's pay gets paid off of. So the more a sales rep's pay commission increases, the more your commission off of that sales rep decreases. So the first $1,000 in sales, you make 25%. This is an important number to know. Okay. If you launch a rep from training and they go sell a homemaker, you make $250 off that. You make more off their first homemaker than they do. You go out, they sell $1,000, you just made $250. Okay. And that's a good thing too, to just have in mind of like what the value of a recruit is. So when you're doing contests during the summer, hey, so-and-so, Joey, if you find me a rep on the team that goes out and, you know, they can sell, as long as they qualify, they sell $1,000, like I'll pay you $100 per person that you can have on the team. Well, that's worth it for you as a manager if they're bringing you people that they wouldn't have brought you already. Now, if you're getting a bonus for someone you would have already recruited, it's not really worth it. But if they're bringing someone extra to you, that's profitable. Even if they don't sell beyond the $1,000, they could quit right after that. You still, that was still profitable for you as a manager. Does that make sense to everybody? But no, ideally the objective is that they're going to continue on as a sales rep. You're not just making $100 off that sales rep or something like that, that they are continuing on and finding success with their career. and not just hitting their first promo and then quitting. That's not really ideal. So then from 1,000 to 3,000, you make 20%. 3 to 6,000, you make 15%. 6 to 50,000, you make 10%. So 6 to 10,000. So if a representative has a 10K fast start, if I have a rep that has a 10K fast start their first week of the job, how much money do I make as a manager off that?
Isn't it like 1,800, 1,600 bucks?
Yeah, I think it's just a little shy of $2,000. What? So it's 250. Then it's 20% of $2,000, which is 400. So that's 650. Then it's 15% of $3,000, which is
450.
450 plus what was the other number I was at? 850.
10% of the
1,300, and then 10% of $4,000, which is 400. So I'm already lost the math. It's a little shy of $2,000 is how much you make off that. Okay. And I'm just giving you guys a little bit of understanding so you can understand this as well. Now, this is the overrides. Okay. So here's another thing is typical overrides are 16 to 19%, meaning that's just a good way of classifying the average overrides. Here's something that happens too. If you have so this is important to know. If you have a very small but mighty team, which sometimes people do, small team, low recruiting, a lot of high performing sales reps, the average income that you're making is less off of that. That's why, by the way, sometimes branches that are bigger recruiters, they could actually sell less than you and make more money off their office during the summertime because they're earning an average higher percentage of CPO because a lot of it's brand new recruits. Now, again, you don't want to be that person. You want to have both. You want to have really strong recruiting and a lot of high performers. You don't want to be the person that just like you recruited a lot of people and they all kept quitting, but you made higher overrides off of it. And you don't want to be the person that like had a really tiny team and they kicked ass all summer, but you made way smaller money off that percentage. You want to have ideally both.
And yeah, Andrew, my first summer, people might take value from this. My first summer, I did 250K with 28 people. And then this past summer, we only did like 50K more, but we had 3 times as many people. So I made about $10,000 to $12,000 more, or maybe even $15,000 more, even though we only did about 40, 50K more.
Yep. So that's an important thing to kind of note there too. So company contribution. $3,000 if no lease, $6,000 upon receipt and approval of a lease. That's if someone is, if you're working out of like in Miami, we're probably going to have a WeWork this summer. So it won't be a specific office lease, but it'll probably be like $400 a month or something like that for a couple months during the summer. Some of you all might get a joint office together, actual physical place. Some of you all will just be working out of like another district manager's office, but you have that, and then you have $2,500 that automatically goes towards your advertising spend for the summertime. So the company already allocates $2,500 that they put on your behalf that goes towards mailers for you this summer. You may make 35% commission on all sales in May and June, and 50% commission on July, August, and September. Summer office sales count towards your career sales. So if you do a 100K branch, most of you all will be at 50% from that day forward. You'll never go back down. Now, by the way, this is the money maker for most people. This is how we protect branches' profit. And that's the thing too, is some of you all will continue to recruit and run your offices literally through June, July, and August. Some of you all will have a conversation at the end of June and it will be like, hey, you're still hiring SMRAs, you're still incurring expenses, your office isn't quite where we want it to, the recruiting window has passed a little bit. You've got like 8 active reps on your team. Keep them on your team, but let's stop spending money. We're not going to keep spending money to run your office at this point. Go out there. You'll keep making money off your sales reps. Go work with your sales reps. Go sell with them. Make 50% commission off your sales. That's how we protect the profit. That's why, by the way, no branch ever should make less than 10 grand for the summertime. If you make less than 10 grand this summer as a branch, all that means is someone didn't hold up their end of the bargain or deal, and it won't be me. Okay. So I think 10 grand, like you should make at least 10 grand during the summertime. And part of that is because if you'll know if somehow your office is not producing 10 grand in income for you, you'll know by like the end of June, and you'll have literally another 2 months, still half of the summer left while everyone else is running their office, that you go out and sell at 50% commission. We have branches that go out and do 20, 30 grand. They'll make an extra 15 grand on top of whatever money they've already made so far throughout the summer in the first half of their performance there. That is your safety net. Now, some of you all, if you're kicking ass at a very high level as a branch, we might not have you sell, until maybe August, until after SE2. We have you keep recruiting if you can keep it going long enough. Returning branches get an extra $1,500 in startup support, or PRs, and 1% override on any BM. We call those twigs, mini branches. So here's some quick examples of just BM expenses during the summertime. Your office rent could be, some of y'all will be $0. Some of y'all will be like $1,500. Web and Craigslist already accounted for. SMRAs, you're probably going to spend, that's probably your biggest expense as a manager is probably SMRAs during the summertime. Is hiring SMRAs. By the way, that expense is like a good expense. Okay. There's fixed expenses and there's variable expenses. A fixed expense is an office expense. You don't make money off of your office because you have a physical office space. That is a fixed expense. You accrue it regardless of whether your team performs or sells anything. You have that expense. You have to pay for it now when you get a physical office. It's a fixed expense. A variable expense is something that as it increases, sales increase, right? So I only pay for what I am using as I go, So SMRAs are a variable expense, meaning if I'm spending a lot of money on SMRAs, it's probably not a bad thing. It's probably a good, like if I spend too much money on SMRAs, it probably is yielding me extra results in my office. So my income is going up in proportion as I spend that money. Does that make sense to people? So that's a variable expense. That's a good expense to have. If you're spending a lot of money on SMRAs, now you don't want to break the budget. It's still important to be smart. We'll walk you through that process of how much you're actually spending when we map out like your branch business plans. But that's a good expense. You have mailers already taken care of, phone, internet, Zoom. You're going to have to spend a couple $100 on your lighting situation, your internet situation, your laptop situation to get ready for the summer. There's going to be some tech stuff there. Texting center is already taken care of for you. That is conveyor. Conferences, there weren't really any conferences last year, so there weren't really near as many charges for that, but that used to be a couple $1,000 expense. Minimum profits, that's your base pay. Again, it is natural to have some base pay. It has already factored into the cost of the equation of running the office that you're going to have some base pay charges. Again, variable expense, probably good, but you want to manage this one. Fast start expenses. This is a really good one to be paying out a lot of. If you're paying out a lot of fast start prizes, it's usually a good sign too. It is an expense, but again, it's usually a good expense. That means you have people that are really performing at a high level. Growth to success, social media. This is a program that will be done across the region that will help you all get SMRAs and sales reps onto your actual team while you're operating off your background. One thing I'll say on growth to success right now is that ideally, the ideal scenario for someone is that you have this set up on somebody else's Instagram account during the summertime, whether that is somebody, your assistant manager, whether that is your younger sister, whether that is a best friend from college, whether that is the first SMRA that you hire and take on and you put it on theirs. Doesn't really matter, but you ideally you want to get, like, you can set up on your own personal account, but then you can't use it, meaning like it's doing the messages for you, so you can't do extra on top of that. So ideally you have this running off of someone else's, ideally a female's account, and then you also have your account where you can send extra messages when you need to. That's the ideal setup for that too, but that's an expense that's factored in there. Contest promotions, insurance, division expenses, Elvis program, Vector Live expenses, technology expense, which I would just call it $500, computer, and then miscellaneous. So extremely cheap would be like spending 12 grand. Extremely expensive would be like spending 22 grand. These are your average typical expenses during the summertime. And it will walk you guys through some models here too. So again, the average override is about 16 to 19%. I'd call it 18 to 19% for most of you all is what it's going to be. All right, this is an example of a branch that sold 30 grand. Okay, 30 grand, which means like they tanked, essentially. Okay, they sold 15 grand. That's an average of about 3 grand a week is what they sold as a branch for May and June, and then they closed their office down in June and went out. And then they also didn't really perform. Like, you sold 12 grand over 2 months as a branch manager. It's not really performing at a high level. So in this case scenario, there'd be this is the total income that's created. These are your total expenses, but by the way, your expenses are probably lower because you didn't perform. A lot of them are variable. So if you didn't sell, probably a lot of expenses weren't incurred, and the net profit here is $5,500 to $7,500 in there. No one should be in this range, by the way. Okay. I think if you're this low, this should probably be higher. And also this is, again, we didn't have anyone that did that this past year. BM pay model number 2, $60,000 in office sales and $12,000 in sales personally. Base commission, 18%. You guys can walk through the numbers here. That would be the total gross income that was made off of overrides off your offices minus whatever expenses that you had. This is your net profit. Okay. That's a $60,000 branch and a $12,000 personal sales. Now, by the way, does anyone have an idea of what, well, I'll just tell you, what should the average for our branch class be next summer? Average branch performance.
125. Is that wrong?
50.
150, baby. 150. 150 in this division, okay, is what it should be. Now, is that the branch average across the country? No. Branch average across the country is more like 80, 90 is like the average, okay? We were a little bit above 100, but Virginia was 150 this summer. Florida Caribbean was 150 this summer. And I believe, considering that we have, I think, pound for pound, one of the strongest branch teams in the country, and we got a lot of kick-ass first years on here as well, that number should be 150. Okay, so just keep in mind all the examples I'm showing you right now are 30% of what I expect the average to be in our division. 30% is what we just looked at. So if you do 1/3 of what the average is, then you're making 10 grand for the summertime. Okay, pay model number 3, 100 grand office sales, 10 grand personal sales, 13 to 15 grand income, 125 grand office sales, 8,000 in personal sales. So here's something I do want you guys to notice, okay, is that there's a big jump starts to happen. The difference between a 150 grand branch and a 200 grand branch is a huge difference in income, okay? Because again, you have fixed expenses and variable expenses, okay? The variable expenses you pay as you go, but the fixed expenses, you have to make a certain amount of sales to just cover those fixed expenses. But once you get over a certain threshold, like 100 grand, there's no more fixed expenses. You just have the variable expenses. So now your expenses are basically non-existent on that next 100 grand. Like it doesn't cost you more money to produce an extra 100 grand than it did the first 100 grand, but you're making money off of all of those with almost no expenses. So your profit margins go up significantly on those last legs. That's why, like, again, someone might have sold 75 grand more than somebody else, but they made an extra 30 grand for the summertime, on top of that too, because you have those fixed expenses. So profit as a branch is part of it is performance. Another part is expense control. You're supposed to spend money as a branch manager. You will have expenses. They're a good thing to have as a business owner. And it's also important to be expense control. You don't want your base pay being out of control on how much you're paying. You want to have systems in place, and we'll help go over that. But part of it is expense management. Part of it is creating the actual revenue and the profits there. And I'm not going to go through every single model, but I give you guys some examples. And these models, by the way, are very, very conservative. When I do models with you guys, I'm going to make the expenses bigger. I typically try to go above and beyond the expenses and just say, hey, let's say you somehow pay a lot of money for all this stuff, because I want you to feel really good about your profit plan, that even if somehow your expenses end up being higher, you're still going to be making some really good profit for the summertime. Any questions on branch manager pay? Cool. Let's go over to our masterclass series. We're going to go over to Jonathan Castell. Jonathan, we're probably going to take 5 to 10 minutes for this. Because it came up with a lot today in our topics, but it'll be a little bit shorter. But I want you guys to give us some goods. This is our masterclass series. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and let me go ahead and pull this up for you, Jonathan. So 3 questions, same thing I pretty much asked Mason just a few weeks ago. But we want to hear from you. Jonathan is now our PSM for the summer of 2021. He'll receive his official promotion in January, and was a top ranked number 10 in the nation last year as a branch manager, first year as a branch, which is very impressive to do your first year out. Jonathan, why don't you let the people in a little bit on what you did to prepare, train, set that up for your first summer. So my first question is, what are your general thoughts on how to prepare in the fall? And we're coming at the tail end of the fall, but what are some things that you did last fall or in the winter break to prepare for the summertime that helped give you some success?
For sure. So I think talking with you last year, you let me know to work on kind of like your weaknesses in the fall and then expand and really just focus on your strengths come springtime. So essentially that's what I did. One of my biggest weaknesses, and I think it's a weakness for everybody going into a branch year, is just kind of not knowing what to expect. I wasn't 100% sure there yet. So essentially what I did, Andrew, if you can make me co-host, I could even share my screen and kind of show this a little bit. Yeah, so essentially what I did, let me go ahead and share this, is I actually got notes, and I spoke to all of the top managers before that. So I spoke to Andrew, Mason, Paige, Colton. I went to Brandon because I wanted to speak with someone from Virginia. I spoke to Eddie, spoke to Mila, spoke to Colton, Paige, so on and so forth, and just made sure that I was reading a lot. Really just becoming a student of the business. I mean, like that one notes keeps going and going and going with information on how to just, run an office or a branch and so on and so forth. So that's the biggest thing that I did during the fall, and something that I'm still doing now. I came off a call with Jeremy Williams. He set the record as a pilot sales manager for Virginia. And I have a call scheduled with Mila once I'm back in Miami here as well too. Not a call, rather just a dinner, but we're just going to go over a lot of pilot sales manager stuff. And I'm also have a call set with Dylan from Atlanta as well too. So just talking to other people who have done it as well. I'm going to get a call with Adrian. And yeah, really, I think that's just the biggest thing in the fall. And the spring, realistically in the spring, the two biggest things that I did.
So before we go to the spring, let me comment on a couple of things. Actually, so number one is just, hey, talking to people. I'll tell you guys right now, we've been talking about circles of influence all year round. When you go out and run an office next summer, your circles of influence, that's when it's most important. Okay, yes, I also, number one, I mean, circles of influence of like, look, some of you all, if you live with mom and dad, you actually, like, some of you all need to move out during the summertime. I'll tell you all that right now. And everyone's got different situations. Some of you all have really close relationship with your parents and they're so supportive and it's great, then it's fine, stay at home. Some of you all know you don't have that, then get out of the house during the summertime. Okay, I'll just tell you guys right now, if I had to live at I didn't live at home with my parents the day I graduated from high school. I never went back, and the only time I was ever back was a week or two at most over the winter break. I have been on my own since the day I graduated from high school. I moved to Fort Lauderdale. All I want to share is that I have a great relationship with my family. I love my parents. Also, I would have sucked awful. I would have been the worst branch ever if I lived with my parents while I was branching. Literally, it just wouldn't have happened. There's no way I could actually get my shit done that I need to get done. You come home at 10 o'clock, you're exhausted, long ass day, and then have other people start telling you, hey, I need you to do this and go take out this. And you need to provide for fit. Like, why are you always like working so much? Like, dude, that's the last thing that I want to hear when I'm already grinding myself and I already have to have my own mental battle of like continuing forward and then have to also mentally battle other people when I get home. Not a good environment. So I will preface that there too. I actually don't even know where I was going with this. Oh, where I was going with this is circles of influence for the summertime. So that circles of importance, but also who are you talking to during the summer? And I think this is important for you guys to hear. Talk to people that are performing, and it's funny because every year there's someone that gets super salty about someone not talking to them anymore. And like, oh, you just didn't, because I'm not performing. So you're not talking to me. Shut up. I do the same thing. I don't talk to people that aren't performing in the summertime either. I don't. I have goals that I'm trying to hit. I want to talk to people that are getting it done, And by the way, sometimes the previous last year's top performer isn't performing in the summertime. That's great. They might be able to still offer some advice, but I want to talk to who's performing in that moment. Who's got the hot hand? When I was a branch, every single week, if there was another number one branch, that person, I was on a call with them that week. Because what happens is they're probably doing something that other people don't know about yet. Or they've got some hot move or hot hand, if you will. Right? We're adapting to virtual. Something's changing. There's some adaptation. What happens is they start kicking ass and doing it. Then they do it again. And then the company's like, oh, wow, like what's this person doing? Then they reach out to them. Then like 3 weeks later, we have a region call. Then everyone hops on that call and here's what that person is doing. And then the next week we go out and then everyone starts implementing it like a week later. It's been a month since they started doing that. Okay. You want to be the person that like knows, oh, you just started doing this last week. I'm going to start doing this. You want to be talking to the best people performers. I will tell you guys right now, the average of the 3 people that you talk to the most this summer will be the average of the CPO that you sell this summer. Guarantee it. Keep friends, keep relationships, but also make sure you're intentional about putting yourself around people that are performing. If the only people you're talking to are not performing and not getting the results that you want to, I can almost guarantee you're not going to be performing and not getting the results that you want. So talk to the people, but make sure you're intentional about that. And Jonathan's done a really good job of that too, by the way. All right. Now spring. What did you do in the spring? And the spring was honestly the most impressive part. So the fall was a lot of personal development for you.
Yeah.
like it was, I think, for me and a lot of other people. Spring, what'd you do in the spring to set up really a powerful execution for yourself in the summertime?
So 3 things realistically I did in the spring. One was I just started selling, made sure that I hit like the January push or something like that. I sold 7K or something like that as well too, and just kept on selling throughout the spring because I didn't want to be like, you know, the manager who has like reps that have outsold them or so on and so forth. And realistically, I just wanted to sharpen my skills a little bit more. So one was selling as well too, and it just makes you more confident, especially whenever you're trying to like coach reps and so on and so forth. Two was I actually started to visualize, and I was at the time I was coaching with Mike Lanzetta. Started to actually like visualize and write down. Actually, if I were to scroll down a whole lot more into that notes that I was just sharing, you can I actually have like a lot of like, hey, like what do I want my culture to look like, what's going to be like our branch KPIs, so or so on and so forth as well too, like, hey, we're going to have a recruiting culture, assistant manager roles, what I want that to look like. Actually, it's all like right here. Doral Spartans culture, like this is what we embodied. You know, started making sure that, you know, I was essentially like making a plan, and like Andrew said, which was earlier, like actually started seeing this as a business. Like I was using this as a business. I started looking at stuff, how to increase your show to training, and just making sure that I'm reading and learning on that type of stuff as well too. And this is more of like the skill set type of stuff. So social media, driving demos and sales, and just really getting good at that. And then the third thing that I did was actually just start to recruit early. So one of the things that Colton Horn did when he won his branch and who I got a call with was he actually started recruiting from like September or something like that. Personally, I didn't know the territory I was going to get into until like January, but as soon as I did, I started recruiting. One was through getting PRs into the winter break program, and actually Gabriel Tejada was supposed to be my aim for the summer. Didn't necessarily work out that way, but regardless, got him into the winter break, was training him. He went to all the events and so on and so forth. And then I started messaging and developing relationships with individuals within my territory. So, I mean, and once again, I can't find it, but in that same note section, I actually was just scrolling through. I have a list of 30 people who I was talking to that went to some of my top schools that I was like, hey, this is going to be my first training class. This is who I'm targeting for my first training class. And I started working on that from the beginning, essentially. And then
a lot of your top reps the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those were a lot of top reps, and that's what really got the summer starting as well too. And we had a really, really good May. Actually, that was the best May. We did 120 in May.
Yeah. You also had a list of 10 SMRAs that you had already locked in for the summer in April.
Yeah.
Or no, in March. In March, you already had a list of like 12 SMRAs that you've been going back and forth with on DMs about summer opportunities, and they were already like, you hadn't interviewed them yet, but they were already like locked and loaded for the summer before you ever got out there.
Like, by February, I had actually interviewed and have gotten like 5 of them set. And then start focus on some sales reps. But by the time, I think it was like April 20, so 2 weeks before the summer actually started, I had 10 SMRAs in my office already calling and setting PRs for me and giving me leads. So we started two weeks earlier. And so that by the time the first week of the summer came, we had a 20K week or something like that. I don't remember, but.
Hey, 2 things I want to echo that Jonathan said. Number one is just starting the recruiting process earlier. Second thing was just the visualization. I'm a big believer that, like, look, when we went out and broke the record, I'll tell you guys, like, my mentality, like, I already knew we were going to break the record in January. I just knew it. You know, we were showing up to the VCAs telling people we were going to break the record. People were like, you're like, I remember like literally Brian Holman being like, look, dude, like, that's sick and all. I love the enthusiasm. And also like, it's not going to happen. like you don't understand what it takes to do something like that. And I was like, all right, well, watch and see, you know? And that's what we went out and did. But like visualizing exactly the office culture, how you want it to go down, how you want your performance to be, and then starting that recruiting process earlier. Jonathan, last thing real quickly, what was the number one thing that you did during the summer? Like your number one program or the one thing that you were like, was a real strength of yours that helped you have some success from the summertime?
Number one thing was just recruiting my best people. I unfortunately was not the best recruiter. There's a reason why my May was the biggest month. It's because we had 10 SMRAs. After that, I horribly managed them and we started going downhill. But one thing that I was really, really good at was just recruiting my best people, having one-on-one conversations with them. So for example, our best SMRA, Gabriela Costa, she's like some sorority in UF or whatever, she had a conversation with her. Hey, we need good people on the team. Recommended Spencer Trujillo. Had that same conversation with Spencer. He had an 18K fast start. Recommended Benny Sedlock. Same convo with Benny Sedlock. Had a 12K fast started. Trevor came in. Same conversation with Trevor. Had a 15K fast start. Alejandro Benavente sold $8,000 in his first, like on Friday night after training. Had that same conversation with him. Immediately next week, all of his friends are popping off. Kipu Kalani Katz, 20K fast start. Same conversation with him. Got us like 3 or 4 SMRAs from sororities and University of Miami, and like at least 6 reps from there as well too, and a bunch of like 6 and 10K reps that were with me for the summer as well. So really just like having conversations, kind of like the, hey, it's time to duplicate yourself, like just sharing your goal, your vision. I think the biggest thing was that we had a small team, but they were really, really tied into the goal. They were really, really competitive. And like they knew exactly what we were trying to accomplish. They knew the culture, and they had the belief, and they believed it themselves as well too. So they were very, very active and involved in like getting not just recruits, but like top people on the team who they were like, hey, this guy's gonna have a 10K fast start, and he has more people that can get us 10K fast starters.
Love it. So rep targeting in your recruiting process here. Thank you, Jonathan, for speaking up. There's a lot, like you guys might want to, if you didn't get a lot of notes on that, I'd go back and listen to that. There's a lot of goods. Smart man learns from his own mistakes. Wise man learns from the mistakes of others. There's a lot of goods wrapped in there. So, guys, it's 11:58. I need like 8 to 10 more minutes if y'all can. If you really can't, message me, but you still need to fill out this form. So this shouldn't take long at all because I already did this in the last TLA prep with our district managers and everyone else already saw it. So the branches, if you are a DMC, you don't need to fill this out because you've already done it. But if you're a BMC, we're going to go over a little bit of just the territories that are available this summer. And it'll take 5 to 10 minutes. And then I'll send you guys have the document. And I need this in my email. Ideally, just as soon as this ends, unless you have another meeting to hop into, just do it right now and send it to me. If for any reason you can't, I need this by 5 o'clock today. Okay, is when it's due. So if you want to be considered for a territory, have it in my email by 5 o'clock today. So there's 2 documents that I'll review with you guys real quickly. The first one is the territory listings. So if you want to go ahead and download that onto your computer and pull that up, and I will pull it up here as well. That is the first one. So territory listings, summer of 2021. These are the district manager territories, which we have been over already. And then these are the branch manager territories. I'm going to walk you guys real quickly through each one. Okay. There is St. Pete, Florida. That is where Mason's been the past 2 years. There's also Bradenton, Florida. Okay. Bradenton, Florida is actually a district manager territory. That will be a DM territory next year. I am just reserving that for potentially a branch this summer. So that will be a district manager territory that will be given to a branch this upcoming summer. Doral, Florida. This is the only Miami territory that's available. That's where Jonathan went out last summer. It's a pretty sweet little area, and it's in Miami. So you're there in the Miami recruiting market, which is always a great market to be in. PCB, Panama City Beach. It's a pretty big territory for how big it is because there's no other cities anywhere near it, really. So you have that whole entire chunk in section over in Panama City Beach. It's also a lot better. PCB used to like not be that great of a territory, only be when we were not virtual, because you would drive out to the middle of like, it's like 9 hours away from where most people are. It's a pretty sick territory, especially the fact that it's virtual. Wesley Chapel, this is just northeast of the Tampa market. So you're in the Tampa metro area. And Wesley Chapel is a nice area kind of on the outskirts of Tampa market. Citrus County, Florida. It's a whole entire county. It's pretty big, a little rednecky. It's up in the north. It's on a chunk of Ocala. So, or it's, I guess, just west, of Ocala. It's that whole entire section that is essentially above Wesley Chapel and above the Spring Hill areas and markets. There's a big chunk over there. That's the Citrus County branch. They have that whole entire market and area. Venice, Florida. This is a little offskirt of Sarasota. So this territory will be basically, it's going to combine essentially the southern South Sarasota market, Venice area, into a little bit of Port Charlotte, and then also have some of the open areas in the Everglades looped in too as part of that market. Sebring, Florida is a city in the middle of Florida. So this is Lakeland. You have like the Florida Lakes. There's an area called Sebring or Avon Park, and there's a nice chunk of students and people that live over in that area. A lot of these territories, by the way, have gotten a lot better with the virtual environment. The ones that are in the center of Florida that are very spread out, usually used to be really tough branch environments because you have to have a physical office. And if it's very spread out territory, like people that live in just like less metro city and more rural, that those areas are great. There's great students there, but like if they live an hour from the office, it's kind of hard to recruit them. So these markets are a lot better in the virtual environment because you still have the whole market you can recruit from, but you're not limited by location and driving distance, which is usually like the downside of some of these other areas and territories that were there. Then we have South Tampa, Ruskin area will be a branch this summer. So it's kind of basically the area in between East Tampa and in between Sarasota area. There'll be a Florida Lakes one. This is kind of like a little bit south of Lakeland, like Lake Wales, like that type of area. There'll be a Florida Lakes territory. And there'll be Okeechobee, Florida, which is the first time that we've ever done this. We've never been able to branch this territory, but there's a lot of basically the whole Lake Okeechobee. There's a bunch of small cities all around it. One of our best reps, Erica Hegley, she's one of my good friends. She's from Clewiston, Florida. That is in that market, Okeechobee, Florida. We just have never been able to put a branch manager there because there's a bunch of really good cities and markets, but they're all too small to be able to run a branch out of. But since we have a virtual, we can take the whole entire thing, all the cities around that area, then it makes it a really, really good market now. So those are a little bit of markets that are available inside of our division. We're also going to have, 4 to 6 branch market opportunities that are going to be outside of our division that will be available to people this upcoming summer. If you're a district, you're going to work with that respective DVM. So you will be in a different division. If you're a branch in a different division, there really isn't, you're going to continue to work with me and our district team. You're just going to tab for the other division. So your sales won't necessarily count for inside of our division, but you'll still be working with our team. Your representatives will be in the TLA of that division, though, at the end of the summer. If I'm branching in a city in Georgia, I might still live in Tampa, work with Mike, work with Andrew, but I'm running the city in Georgia during that time, in the summertime as well. So those are the branch territories. Any questions on the territories themselves before I go over the questionnaire? Cool. Here's the questionnaire. So this is what you guys all need to fill out today. It should take maybe 5-10 minutes to fill out real quickly. All you're gonna put is name, office, career CPO. What's your goal by April? Startup, how much commissions do you have total? I want the accurate amount, by the way. So there's very few of you that have this, but some of you guys have like a return or a negative charge on your account. If I've got $4,000 in withholdings, but my commission statements is negative $800 right now, I really have $3,200 in withholdings. Okay, because as soon as I request that withholdings, half that's going to go contribute towards my negative on account. Most of y'all don't have a negatives, but a couple of y'all do from like a couple big returns that happen after the summer or something like that. So if that is the case, take that into factor of how much real startup do you have accurately in this moment. What's your goal by April 21st or April of 2021? And then sponsorship goal. This is, can you have family help you out with rent for the summer? Can you have family help you out with food for the summer, friends, whatever? That's like, hey, mom and dad, if I was going to go study abroad in, Paris this summer, would you cover my living expenses? Or if I was going to go, take summer classes, cool. Like I'm doing my branch abroad internship program. Would you cover XYZ for the summer? And some of y'all will get a lot of this. Some of y'all might not get much of this, but I think some sponsorship can always help if you can cut off some of your personal expenses that you have for the summertime. Are there any outside factors? So if you have like, I have family in this area, I already know a lot of people here, or I know this market really, really well. I feel like I'd vibe well in this type of market. If you have any like kind of things that you think should be taken into consideration for this, please put them down. Some of y'all have literally nothing. That's cool too. What are your top 3 territory preferences and why? Here's what I will tell you. If we have a territory, we've done the math and the numbers on it. So, all these territories are viable market territory opportunities. We don't make a territory unless I feel confident that the territory could do 100 grand in sales, at least for the summertime. Okay. So every single territory that you'll see on this has the potential, at least at a bare minimum, to do 100 grand sales performance during the summertime. We don't make it a territory if it doesn't have, we run the population data, how many students are in the area, how many high school graduating seniors, how many college students live there. So we check all that data before we actually make a territory, just to give you guys some confidence. But what are your top 3 territory preferences? Is there any place you absolutely do not want to be considered for? Now, my typical recommendation is just be open to things. The more open you are, the better you're gonna be. I'm gonna put you in the best territory that I think I can put you in, the best spots. Now, the best training candidates will get the best territories, but all of them are good. And the last thing too that you need to know is the manager makes the territory. I'll tell you guys right now, or Sarasota. Sarasota was like considered the shitty market for years by lots of people, and only because no one ever good went there. So we kept having low performers year after year after year after year. Kathy Vasquez, one of the most prolific managers in the company, she did 600 grand, or as a branch, she did 400 grand there her first summer, like 20 years ago. It's like she went there and absolutely obliterated. This is before branches ever did 400 grand, by the way. That was not a common thing. Killed it. Was then boom, the best market. No one ever wanted to go to Naples. Naples was a crappy market. No one wants to go there. No one, it's not a good branch market. Mila went there, was the number 3 branch in the company in Naples. Now everyone wants to go to Naples, Florida. Okay. The manager always makes the territory. A good manager in a bad territory will perform at a high level. A manager in a good territory will still see to perform. So, but if there is anything you have a very strong opinion about, it still would be good for me to know. I think the best kind of plan is just be open. But if there is anything that we should take into consideration, make sure you put that there. And then also, are you open to being considered for outside export opportunities? There will be some cool export opportunities so as well. And if so, I would just kind of rank your top. These are the territories that will have some openings and availabilities. And then just the last question, if there's a territory that has potential to produce a little bit more in volume, would you be interested in that opportunity? So fill this guy out. Send it over to my email. Please send it right now if you can. If you absolutely can't, I need it by 5:00 p.m. today, latest. And then 10 p.m. tonight, if you haven't done so already. Good to great notes are due. So take a quick second to post